One of the many joys of being in the art and antiques business is that you occasionally handle treasure, and I mean real treasure, and this is exactly what I'm going to show you today. So a client of mine from Matlock in Derbyshire has sent me two small miniature paintings of horses. Yeah, very naive, not that interesting, you may think, but they are colossally interesting and potentially very important to the building behind me, which some of you will recognise as Bowes Museum in County Durham, one of the largest collections of art and fine objects anywhere in the United Kingdom. It's astonishing. It was founded by John Bowes, a very famous local character, and John Bowes was very famous for breeding horses, race horses, and also making an awful lot of money. By the way, that isn't John Bowes, that is Isaac Walker. Isaac Walker was a manager at John Bowes's stud at the place called Streatham down the road. Anyway, these paintings have been sent to me by a client from Matlock in Derbyshire. His family originated in these parts, in a little place in Weardale, not very far from Teesdale, where we are right now. And there's a connection here to the Bowes Museum because both of these horses, the miniatures here, this one is Mudig, and he was a Derby winner in 1835, owned by John Bowes. Yes, the person, the character, the famous man, great philanthropist that built this huge museum. He also owned this one, Derby winner in 1843, called Cotherstone. So yes, these pieces have been in my client's family for as long as he can remember. He remembers them in his grandmother's home, and so now they've just been unearthed. So the story begins. I've got a meeting with Jonathan Peacock. I know Jonathan, he's a wonderful guy, he's a trustee here at Bowes Museum. And I'm just going to go and speak to him to see what he knows about these paintings. And come with me on the journey and let's see what information comes out and what we discover. And of course, ultimately, I need to sell these things for my client for the best, most reasonable price. And if there is a connection to Bowes Museum, wouldn't it be lovely for them to end their days here? So here we go. Come with me. This should be interesting. Jonathan, great to see you.
Hello, David.
How are you?
Very well indeed. And you, I hope?
Brilliant. I'm fine. Thank you very much. So you've seen the images of
Yes.
the pictures?
I thought you'd be interested to see these.
Oh my goodness me, well, they're basically identical, are they?
They are basically identical. It's the style that they used at that time that we have here, two of his Derby winners.
Right, and there was four in total.
And there's four in total.
So you have two.
You have two, and I think you have two.
I think I do have two. I've also got something else. Shall we go and have a look at them?
Yes, let's.
Okay, so whilst we walk up to a meeting area where I can show Jonathan my paintings, let's just get to grips with where we are. So John Bowes, the founder of this fantastic, great museum, was hugely into horse racing. In fact, he was one of the biggest names in that world during his lifetime. Now, John Bowes, throughout his whole horse racing career, had 4 Derby winners. Serious horses indeed. The Bowes Museum have 2 paintings with the horseshoes, like mine, of 2 of his Derby winners. I have, on behalf of my client, the other 2. This is where it gets quite interesting. Feast your eyes just for a moment or two and take in the absolute delights of Bowes Museum, or a tiny percentage of it, as we work our way to the meeting room. Now, I've got to tell you, it does take some time to get anywhere in Bowes Museum because it is so huge. But it's no chore because it is incredibly beautiful, this building. It's effectively a massive French chateau built in the Durham Dales in the north of England in the town of Barnard Castle. And it was built specifically to house the art collection of John Bowes and his French actress wife, Josephine. Opened in 1892 to the public and the world, but sadly neither John nor Josephine were around to witness the grand opening because they died before the museum was completed. Well, that's then, Jonathan. I mean, were you aware that these things actually existed?
No, I wasn't, and I'm delighted to see this portrait of Isaac Walker. He was the head groom. His father had been the head groom at Streatham, having started in 1790. So he was head groom from 1790 to 1833. And then the son, whom we have here, took over in 1833 and was head groom till he died in 1872.
In quite dramatic circumstances, I believe.
Yes, it's a tragedy. He actually drowned. We don't know the details of his death, but it is a very sad ending. But it was a service to the Bowes family that went on for a total of 70 years, which is an amazing thought for the father and son. And so he was the person who took the racehorses from Streatham over to the Whitehall stables of John Scott, where they were trained.
Right, okay. So this is so exciting because, you know, we've seen the paintings downstairs, which remarkably are so similar to these two miniatures here. Now, did you know that these things existed? If you pick one up, and let me get your thoughts. Did you know that they existed, Jonathan?
I knew that they were done, but I did not know where these were.
Wow.
And so these are the two plates that we didn't know about, and they represent, together with the ones downstairs, the 4 Derby winners of John Bowes. Now, of course, John Bowes had 4 Derby winners, which makes him one of the most successful breeders of all time.
Of all time?
Of all time. Only 5 people have matched with 4 Derby winners, and one person has exceeded that, and that was the Aga Khan, who had 5 Derby winners. Even the Queen has never had a Derby winner.
No.
And so this is an incredible achievement.
That's absolutely mind-boggling. Can I tell you where these things came from?
Yes, please.
So they were sent to me by a client of mine who lives in Matlock, Derbyshire, a lovely part of the world.
Yeah, definitely.
They're from the North Country. He remembers these pictures, 3 of them, hanging in his grandparents' home in the little village of Howden-le-Weir in County Durham.
Yes.
He knows that his grandfather was friends with Isaac's family a little later on. So we can only assume that these 3 pieces came into his family 100 years or so or more. We don't know how they got them, but they've been hung in a little cottage in Howden-le-Weir for all these years.
Amazing.
Without Bowes Museum knowing about it.
Amazing. Well, I'm sure there are many treasures out there. But you refer to the Bowes Museum, this fabulous building, of course, and this wonderful collection of art that we're surrounded by. Many people say that it was built on the profits from the coal industry and on the backs of the coal miners. Far more, in reality, it was built on the backs of his horses and their winnings. The money that John Bowes won backing his horses was staggering. Millions each year. For about 20 years, he was making more than £5 million a year from his horse racing activities.
Which is effectively the money that funded the Bowes Museum.
Yes. Well, one cannot be specific in the sense that any particular part of the money, he was running a big business, he had his coal mines, he had his land, he had his farms, all of these things, and he never separated the monies out. But the source of the wealth of a significant part of it was horse racing.
What about the artists themselves, Jonathan? Any knowledge on those?
In this case, absolutely not, David. We do not know who these artists were, but we know quite a bit about the horses. This first one is Cotherstone, and Cotherstone won the Derby in 1843, and the winnings for the 1843 winner were £4,250.
In those days?
In those days, which is at approximately equated by times 100 to get today. So that's £400,000 equivalent today for winning the race.
One race?
One race.
And was this the Derby?
This was
because
the
I think
Derby.
this one
Yes,
is
that
labelled
the
on the
Derby of
reverse, isn't it?
1843. But the
1843.
amazing thing is that John Bowes made another £30,000
So that's
wages.
£3 million.
That's £3 million today's values on that one race in 1843 with that one horse.
That is absolutely mind-boggling.
It's incredible. Well,
So-
it gave us the museum.
Okay, so that's Cotherstone, and now this
We
one
now
here.
come to Mudig. Now Mudig is an interesting one because Mudig was foaled in 1832, which was the year that John Bowes turned 21. And that is the origin of the name, because Mudig is the German for of age, and that's why John Bowes named him Mudig. And he was the first in the first batch of horses which John Bowes sent over to John Scott. Now we are shown here the jockey, and that is William Scott, who was the brother of John Scott and worked as his main jockey in the stables, and he rode many of John Bowes' winners. But John Scott was to become called the Wizard of the North, and Mudig, physically a fairly small horse, was the first northern horse ever to win the Derby, and John Scott trained him, and he was John Scott's first Derby winner.
That's absolutely amazing.
John Scott, as a trainer, then trained 41 winners of the classic races.
And all here in the North Country.
He trained them all at Moulton, near just north of York, where his Whitewall stables was based. But the record that he made of 41 winners has only been exceeded by Aidan O'Brien this year, who trained his 42nd classic winner in training the Derby winner this year.
So he held the record until 2022.
It held a classic winner trainer's record until 2022.
And he was called the Wizard.
And he was called very correctly the Wizard of the North. And he was known as that in his day.
Okay, well, wow, what a story and what a find. These are pretty important pieces and superb connections to the great man, John Bowes himself, his horse racing legacy, of course, and the magnificent Bowes Museum. Now, something that I didn't mention earlier on, because I've only just discovered it, is this. The horseshoes here you're looking at, the gilded horseshoes, are referred to as racing plates and would certainly have come from the Derby winner itself. So another wonderful direct connection to John Bowes, who absolutely, without a shadow of a doubt, commissioned these paintings, but a great touchable connection to the Derby winner itself. And I think you'll agree, the painting that really truly does complete the trio is that of Isaac Walker, head groom to John Bowes. But how much are these paintings worth today in the real world? Well, that's a very difficult question to answer, and the only way to do it is to put them for sale right now in the real world. And that's what I'm going to do, because that's my job. I have to sell these things for my clients. So they're going into auction. Elstob and Elstob in Ripon, North Yorkshire, on the 30th of November 2022. And after some discussions there with their painting expert, we've come up with what I think is a come and get me estimate. You know what this means. Basically, it's a real tempting estimate, because there's going to be worldwide interest in these things. There has to be. Anyway, the come and get me is £1,000 to £1,500 auction estimate for the 3 pieces. I think they'll make more. What about you? Do you have any predictions? If you do, put them in the comment section down below. Otherwise, watch the auction. You can watch them sell live. Should be interesting. And I will let you know how they do. Thanks for watching.